It's cold today. I woke up this morning, it's 14 degrees outside. I don't like the cold. So I got some news. We're changing direction a little bit. I've been working on this CBX behind me for the last several weeks. All the videos have been on restoring the CBX, or at least finishing it. And I had said a couple of times that my personal bike, and I'm going to keep it. I'm doing it for me. I'm going to ride it. And all that was true at the time. Until a couple days ago when a friend of mine messaged me and asked if I would sell it. So, tough decision because I really like it. And to be honest, I like coming out into the garage every morning and seeing the progress that's been made on it. I've owned this motorcycle since roughly December of 2019. So it's been, what, 6 years? And in that time, it has looked extremely rough. I got a pretty good deal on it back in 2019. I shipped it up from Florida, and it's been hanging around without really working on it for a long time. A few years ago, I cleaned the carbs, I got it running, and then it sat for quite a while I painted a whole bunch of other motorcycles. Then I finally got around to painting this one. So, yeah, I gave them a number, and they didn't flinch. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and let it go. I'm going to say what I sold it for, only because, half the people are going to say I didn't charge enough. The other half are going to say I charged too much. So no point in, putting that number out there, but it was my number. It was essentially the I don't want to sell it price. And he said, okay, well, what are you going to do? So I guess in a way it's a win-win, because I'm going to, use the money to work on some of the other projects. But it does mean that I need to finish a few things on this that I wasn't really planning on finishing right away. And that those are number one, and probably the most important, the brake calipers. The brake calipers, I rebuilt these brake calipers several years ago, and they have been weeping brake fluid on my floor ever since. I'm not 100% sure why. I need to take them apart and look at them. I know that I put new seals in them. I'm not sure if I put new pistons in them or not. I can't remember. So I don't know if they just need pistons or if they need, at this point, if I didn't replace the pistons, I probably damaged the seals. And so, I don't know. We need to take it apart and look at it. Worst case scenario, it needs new calipers, because, potentially there's pitting where the seals sit in the calipers themselves. If that's the case, then I have to track down new calipers, and I have to do it relatively quickly. So that's one big job. Another big job that I have to do are the oil lines. I wasn't going to replace the oil lines. You're supposed to replace the oil lines. They're 46, 47 years old, and it's old rubber. So it's a good idea to always replace the oil cooler lines. I was not going to do that because I don't ride these bikes very much, and my bike, so I do what I want. I'm going to go ahead and replace the oil lines because it's going to go to somebody else, and I want it to be safe and reliable. So I'm going to get that done, and that means I need to go out into the other garage, and I'm going to cut the ends off of the oil lines on a CBX engine out there, and then we're going to ship them out to Terry Schmidt, who sells new oil lines all ready to go. They're $190 with your ends. So let's get that done this morning in this 14-degree weather, and then we'll see what else the day holds. All right, here's my maybe the worst CBX engine ever. Actually, I guess I shouldn't say that. It's the problem. I could go into a lot of detail, and I'll save it for another video. But I got this. I bought a CBX. This one came out of Missouri, and I'm gonna cut these ends off. So we'll talk about why all this is apart and why this thing looks as bad as it does. But I need the ends off this so I can get them shipped off to Terry Schmidt, and we're gonna get new oil lines. that are going to go on the other CBX up front here. So he's going to get these. He'll send me new ones, and then I will, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the oil lines off that one up front, cut the ends off of those, and then get another set of lines from Terry when it's time to come back and do this motor. So there's one line, and I will go get the other one. This is right side of the motorcycle. We already got the left one off. So let's see if I can get this in there. Alright. I did crack these loose before I put the drill on them. Oh, look at that. Lots of oil. Oh boy, that is nasty. Good deal. Oh, sludge coming out of that thing. Alright, got my little hose cutter here. Makes this job a little easier. So we'll just chop these things off. Yep. Slices right through. Yep, just like that. So we'll get the other ones cut off, ship these to Terry, and we'll get the new ones on the way. Now that those ends are shipped off to Terry, we're going to switch gears and start working on the kickstand and the center stand. Alright, I'm out here working on the kickstand. I just grinded down the toe there. These CBX kickstands are supposed to have this wire welded onto it, and it goes right like this, right on the end in there. So the old one obviously broke off here. I want to try and grind this down flat up against this so that I can actually weld the whole piece on instead of like cutting this off and matching it up. I think I got the toe part down pretty good, so I'm just going to keep on grinding and throwing some sparks until it's time to weld. Let's see. Well, there's my welds. He's not going anywhere. I think it looks good. It's straight. I think it looks pretty straight, and I think that's how it's supposed to be. So now when it kicks up, you'll have something to push on to kick it back down. So this wire is supposed to hit on the rubber part of the exhaust, and it was missing. So Super Sport Shed sells these, and it comes pretty quickly considering they shipped it all the way from the UK. I got it, within a few days, I think. So yeah, good part. And I got my kickstand a little straighter than it was. It was bent pretty good, but straightened it out a little bit in the press. Got that rubber part out, welded on the wire, and now I'm going to throw it in the sandblaster, get ready for powder coat. Alright, man, it's cold out here. I got it all sandblasted. My hands are pretty frozen. Let's take a look at it. Ooh, there we go. So yeah, so it looks like all sandblasted and ready for powder coat. The welds. Nice and clean. Gotta make sure we didn't miss any spots. I think it's pretty good. So now we can string it up, get the oven heated, put some powder on it, and bake it. I might save that for tomorrow, to be honest, because I can't feel my fingers. Our timer is up, and there's the kickstand, and I powder coated the top of the bolt too. Hard to see because it's in there, but it is it's a semi-gloss from Eastwood, and it ends up looking satin when it cools off. So I'm gonna turn this oven off, let it cool, and then we'll get it on. I am ready to put my kickstand back on. I just put in the rubber piece here and a new bolt, and there's a new metal spacer in there. All that came from the Super Sport shed. And I even got a brand new spring. So they sell all that as a kit. You can get the whole kickstand kit from them, and then assemble it right on the bike. Actually, I think the spring is separate. You buy the spring and then the rubber piece, the bolt, and the little spacer. Those three pieces are in a kit, and then the spring is separate. But I did get all those pieces. I had to chase some threads after powder coating. I'm pretty happy how this came out. Here's the spring right here. There's my thread chaser kit. So yeah, I had to, after powder coating, sometimes you get a little powder where you don't want it. So I had to clean up that bolt, and I'm gonna put it on. Whenever you're putting a kickstand together, you wanna grease all these surfaces, that metal surface right there it's gonna pivot on, you wanna grease. And then you also wanna grease the inside of the shaft there, that clevis, just so that it slides up and down on the mount point nicely. So let's go ahead and get this on. There it is, all installed on the bike. One more part done. I think it came out great. I like it. I need to put the exhaust back on, and hopefully this wire hits the stop on the exhaust where it's supposed to. That'll be nice. And now I can take the bike off the kickstand and either lift it up with a motorcycle jack, put it in a lift, or just set it on the kickstand while I take the center stand off and restore it next. One thing at a time, we're getting there. It's time to get this main stand off. I always find the best way to get these springs off is with a pair of vice grips. So just grab the spring and pull. And try not to slide the bike. There we go. Probably better done on the lift, but all the lifts are occupied, and it's a little easier for me to heat this garage. It's a little nicer in this garage, so just work out here and make do with sitting on the floor. Alright, so this comes off this way, and then that looks lovely. So I think I'm going to try and clean this up. I might powder coat it. They were originally, I think, silver with some sort of zinc coating or something, but when it's up underneath like that, I think powder coat will do just fine. And then I got a new one of these springs, so we won't be reusing that. And this thing doesn't move very well, so we'll see how difficult it's going to be to get this pin out. There's a pin in here that it pivots on, and yeah, I don't know. Well, the pin in the center stand is winning right now. I can't get it out. You can see it rotating when I rotate the center stand. It's definitely rusted itself to the inside of the stand, and I can't, no matter how hard I hit it, it's not budging at all, and I can't really grab anything onto it and try to spin it. There's just nothing that holds onto it tight enough. I tried tightening these down on both sides and then forcing the center stand to move, thinking that these clamps would hold on to the pin, and then I could maybe break it free, because really that's how it's supposed to work. This is the center stand is supposed to pivot on the pin, not on the clamps. And unfortunately, that's actually why this one is hard to move when it's tight, because this pin is not rotating at all. I think the smartest thing to do, so we have options. There's, the smart way, and then there's, the blowtorch way. I could torch it and get it real hot in here, and then try to hit it and see if that heat expands the metal enough to allow me to, break the rust free and slide it out. So that's an option. The other option, and I think maybe the smarter option, would be to try and tap this with some threads. Now, I'm not sure which size tap to use. It would be pretty big. 9/16 fits inside the hole, so the tap would have to be bigger than 9/16. So I don't have a tap that big. Most of the taps that I have are metric anyway, and my metric taps only go up to 14 millimeters, and that's not big enough either. So if I go to the hardware store, I might be able to find a standard tap, but we're actually under a state of emergency, and no one's supposed to drive unless you have to. But this is important, right? You think they'd let me go if I tell them I needed a tool to fix a vintage motorcycle? I mean, it is a CBX after all. They should understand, right? So anyway, I'm gonna think about it for a little while. Can't seem to locate my torch right now either, so can't really do either option until I either find my map torch or go out to the store, risk getting a ticket, and trying to buy tools to get this off. And I guess the third option would be to leave it, but I don't like the way that it operates. You really can't tighten these down. If you tighten these down, then the darn thing doesn't move real well. So that's not good either. So I think I'd rather fix it. There is another option, and that would be to basically maybe use a Dremel or something and cut all that out. And if I do that on both sides, then the center stand should drop straight down. I'd have to cut it obviously past the clamps, grind it all out past the clamps, and then I could push it down, and it should come out if I do it on both sides. So that's not a bad idea either. If I do that, then it would be safer to apply heat, or potentially I could rig it up in a vise or a clamp or something that would allow me to maybe push it out once it's off the bike. So the only problem, doing that, I risk kind of damaging things and then still not being able to get it out even after I've cut it off. So you got to think about all these choices and come up with something. All right, after some careful consideration, I decided to use a Dremel and try to remove as much of that pin as I could from the right hand side. I didn't cut anything from the left. I only grinded out a lot of this right side, and then I was able to finagle it out of there once that flange was removed. So that worked out pretty well. Now I can torch it or put it in a press or do whatever I want with it off of the bike, and I don't have to worry about harming the bike. So I think this was a good way to go given the tools that I had available at the time. I still might clean that up and tap it because I like the idea of using a spacer and a bolt as a puller and pulling it out. But I think I'm going to torch it and probably just hit it with a hammer a few times on this side to see if I can get it to free up before I go, sourcing an appropriate size tap. I mean, that might be a 3/4. I don't know. I would have to use a pretty big tap, and then I need a spacer that would fit around the end of the main stand here, and then a bolt and a nut. And what happens is you thread the bolt and the nut into the spacer and then into the threads that you cut here. You tighten it down, and then you start cranking on the nut, and it'll pull that up into your spacer. So that's going to take a while, because I don't think I have a 3/4 tap or anything big enough for that. I'm not sure if I have a spacer. I probably have to make one if I don't have like a socket or something that would fit. So that's probably a smart way to do it, but now that it's off the bike, I can torch the hell out of it and see what happens. I found a torch and brought this main stand out here, put it in the press. So I got a socket on one side, and I'm pushing directly on the pin on the other side. Now, even though I found my torch, the MAP gas was out, so I only have propane right now, and all the stores are closed, so I can't go buy any. I think I'm going to leave it like this with pressure on it overnight. I'm going to spray it with some PB Blaster. I got it good and hot with the propane torch, but it doesn't seem to be helping. I got a good bit of pressure. Now, this is not the largest press. It's 12 tons. And I don't know how much pressure I got on it at the moment. It's a fair amount, but I'm sure it's not 12 tons. But I don't think it's budged yet. So I'm gonna keep going through heat cycles, and I think I'll let it sit with pressure on it overnight and some PB Blaster, and then try it again in the morning. And hopefully I can get some MAP gas too, and that'll get it a lot hotter. Maybe it'll budge then. I think it moved. Not sure, but I think it might have moved. I just came out here. I finally got a new MAP bottle so that I can put some real heat on it. But I just came out here, and it was, it was sitting in here, kind of cockeyed like this. See, you can see there's a gap there, and it was like kind of off to the side. I don't know if it moved, or if maybe this jack just kind of let go a little bit, but I don't know. I'm looking at it, and I think it might have moved. So let me hook this back up in here, clean it off real good, and I'll probably hit it with some MAP gas and see if we can't really get it to move. All right. So I've been heating this thing up for a little bit. It's kind of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All sides, around the back. Try and get it to heat up nice and even. And I think it's moving. So let's give it a try. I only have two hands, but let's focus in on the hole there where the pin goes. And let's see. Oh yeah. Get that to focus. Look at that. She is moving. That's a lot better than it was doing yesterday, let me tell you. Alright, so I can only go, obviously, until I hit. Alright. Now I'm going to have to find a socket to fit in there so that I can push it through, and then I'm going to have to find something else on the other end and let it go through. So let me find some stuff here and see if we can't keep moving. Alright, I'm working it through. I had this piece of steel, and I kind of cut it to length. It's about the same width as the center stand there. And I started with a small socket and pushed it in the depth of that, and now I've switched to a 3/8 extension, and I'm going to try and push it through a little bit on that. But the challenge is keeping everything straight while you're pressing on it, so you just cock to the side there. So I'm going to have to put the phone down and straighten things out, and then try to keep pressing. Alright, the 3/8 extension alone didn't work, but when I put it on the socket that I had used to get started with, it actually worked quite well. So now we're just pushing it through. It's going to go into that shaft, and I'll probably have to pull that out, put a longer extension on, and then keep pressing, but this is working real well. I'm actually not putting much pressure on it at all. It's coming right out. So I mean, at some point, probably real soon, I could just pull it out by hand. But oh yeah, I'm not putting hardly any pressure on it now. So I probably got, however that was, what's that, a 3-inch extension with a socket on it? So there's probably not much. I don't know how hot it was. I was just torching it. So it's probably still warm, but it's pretty cold out here at the same time. So let me get the pressure off of this. And so yeah, look at that. It's almost completely out. If I had something to hold my phone, I could probably pull it out, but I'll have to pause this and see if I can get it out. So let's see. There it is. Success. And that is what victory feels like. It's what victory looks like. A little patience and persistence. And the only part we ruined was this, and I never planned to use it to begin with. It was always going to be replaced. So we grinded the end off of it and finagled it out of the bike. Now we've pressed it through the center stand, so we can toss this now, and then we just need to clean this up. You know, we definitely, probably gonna sandblast. I gotta sandblast the whole thing and powder coat it anyway, so I'll probably try and sandblast a little bit inside there just to get all the rust out of it. And then we'll grease up the new one and put it in there, and it should slide in and out fine, and then everything will be good. So I'm gonna get this sandblasted, powder coated, and on to the next step. The center stand is all sandblasted, and because I was spraying PB Blaster on it, I'm going to pre-bake it to bake off anything that's might have contaminated the metal. I think I got most of it off in a sandblaster, and I don't pre-bake everything, but they recommend it, right? Anytime you're powder coating, they tell you, call it gassing off. They say gas off the metal first. So put it in the oven, cook it 500 degrees for 20-30 minutes, let it cool, and then powder coat it, stick it back in the oven according to your powder coat times. So that's what we're doing. I got it strung up on the rack. It barely fits in here. I've not actually powder coated a center stand in this oven before. Hard to see in the back there, but it's almost hitting the back, and that front section is almost hitting the door, so it barely fits. But that's the other good reason to gas it off, because you can see if it's going to fit in your oven. But let's wait for 30 minutes or so and then take care of this thing. We're all ready to powder coat. I baked it a couple days ago actually, and then left it in the oven and let it cool. Had some stuff to do yesterday, so didn't get to do anything. But this is the basic setup for powder coating. I got my ground hooked up on the oven rack. I clean off a couple of spots and then hang the part with some extra MIG wire. I've been taking the MIG wire that you can't use, what's left in the lead, and then using that to hang parts to powder coat. good use of recycling, I suppose. So let's see if we can get this thing powder coated. I got my Eastwood powder coating gun, and it's real simple. Press the button, pull the trigger, and powder adheres to the metal. So let's switch hands here and see if we can do it. Alright, so you want to start with the hard to get surfaces first, which is going to be anything inside like this. I don't think I'm holding the button down with one hand well enough. So I'm gonna have to put the phone down. It is time to put the swing arm back on. So here's that piece that holds the spring. This attaches the spring to this point here on the swing arm, and it's shaped like this. Actually, this side goes on the bike and then kind of hugs the frame like that and comes back. So this was the old rusty one that I showed, and I was going to powder coat it, but then I ended up powder coating this all by itself and kind of forgot about this. So I cleaned this off with a brass wheel and a Scotch-Brite. So I use a brass wheel on it. I have a grinder with a brass wheel on one side and a Scotch-Brite wheel on the other. So I get all the rough stuff off with the brass wheel, and then I'm kind of shining up with the Scotch-Brite wheel. So it gives it a pretty cool finish. And then I protected it with a layer of Cerakote. So it's got a layer of clear Cerakote on it, which is really cool stuff. You can do all your aluminum stuff that's been vapor blasted or polished. You can do it in a Cerakote, and that way it won't dull on you, and it does better with fingerprints and all that good stuff. Doesn't trap grease or anything that you get on those aluminum parts that I spend a lot of time on. But at any rate, this is steel. I've used it on steel too. It works good. So this is ready. It's been cleaned up. The kit that I'm using I got from the Super Sport Shed. I do believe you buy the spring separately, and then there's a main stand fitment kit that comes with a new pin and the new hardware, the nuts and bolts that you need to put this on. So got all new hardware, got a new pin. I destroyed the other pin in the last video getting it off because it was seized in there. This one fits very well, and I did clean up the inside, got all the rust out of it. So now what I'm going to do is grease it up real good and cover that thing with grease, put it in the hole. That should keep it from rusting again. Smooth action. And then we're gonna get it up here and lock it down. So we're all ready. Let's get this thing on.
think I'll be able to do it with one hand. So I'm just gonna pull it and drop it right on where it goes. There it is, all back on and installed. And now she's back up on the main stand where it belongs. Now let's come over to this side. Yeah, you see that nice pretty new spring? Nice new pin holding it all together. Good looking powder coat, ready to go. Now, it took me longer than it should have to put this on because this side is designed to be longer here than the other side. I was trying to do it the other way around. The other side won't go over this. So you need the longer side here in order to go over that. Once I flipped it around, it went right on. So another job done. Looks really good under there, even though nobody will ever see it. But it's the point of the matter. All right, another job done, knocking things out. Once the oil lines get here, I'm gonna tilt the engine. I already got the exhaust off so that I can tilt the engine. We'll run new oil lines. And then I still need to fix the weeping on the brakes, and then it goes to the new owner. I think that's going to do it for this video. We've covered a lot of ground. The next video hopefully will be the last one in the CBX. I'm going to finish it up. Like I said, we got the oil lines to do. That also means I have to change the oil and need to work on these brakes a little bit. So look forward to making that video and sharing that with you. But for this one, we're going to wrap it up. Please don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications so that you stay up to date, not only with this CBX, but with the next project that we're going to start. As soon as this one's done, I think I'm going to make a video and ask you guys to help me select the next project, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I have one in mind that needs to get done. And so, show that to you. But plenty of projects in line. That back garage there has 10, I think, or more that I need to work on. So going to be a lot of great content on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again.